Sexual and gender-based violence has been identified as a prevalent and pervasive issue affecting Nigeria and students and people of all gender all over the country. So it has been reported that there are over 39,000 cases of sexual and gender-based violence, according to the details we have on the gender-based violence dashboard. However, this does not reflect the reality, because the United Nations has reported that 1 in every 3 Nigerian women has at one point in their life experienced sexual and gender-based violence. This is not just the issue. Another thing is the prevalence in schools. So schools are supposed to act like protective spaces for children and adolescents. However, this has been identified as the third most reported place where sexual and gender-based violence has happened, especially to girls. So today on this episode, we have with us Ms. Vivien Akpagher, who is the mother of 14-year-old Karen-Happuch Akpagher, who until her death was a student of Premier Academy in Lugbe FCT. Karen was raped in school and died from complications arising from the rape. Thank you so much, Ma, for joining us. We are honored to have you here with us. I know it's not easy, but I want to commend your courage for having the willingness to tell your story every time.
Thank you very much.
All right, ma'am. So
pleased to be here.
Okay, ma'am. So I know this is not easy because it's very hard sharing this story over and over. But then I want to commend you, and then I want to commend your courage and your willingness to share the story. We do not take that for granted. So in honor of Karen, would like to have 1 minute silence. Ma'am, for those who might not be familiar with the story, because a lot of persons I know would not be familiar with the story. For those who might not be familiar with the story, can you tell us what happened? What was the circumstance that led to the death of Karen? And can you tell us a bit about Karen? Who was she before all of this happened?
Like you rightly said, it's hard. It's a hard situation because there's an Angolan proverb that says, the person that throws a stone forgets. It's the person who gets hit remembers forever. And it's a situation that every waking day, every minute of my life, I still think of the daughter I lost. Before this happened to Karen, Karen was a vibrant, loving, very energetic girl who was the only girl amongst 3 boys, but was strong enough to hold her ground. Karen was a good student. She loved studying. She loved school. In fact, in her first and second year, she was a day student because she had a health condition. But she kept insisting she wants the same opportunities her brothers are getting in the boarding house. So she wanted to go to the boarding house. So after the first and second year, I had monitored her and see that she was capable of taking care of herself. So I let her go to Premier Academy in Lugbe. So on the 18th of June 2021, on a Friday, Karen called me and said she wanted to come home. She had health issues. She used the teacher's phone. But the teacher said if I just come to school and pick her, she'll be in trouble for allowing a student to use her phone. So I should call the school tomorrow because the next day was going to be a call day, and tell them I had spoken to Karen on the school phone and she's not feeling too well, so I would like to pick her. So the next day, I called the school matron and told her I would like to pick Karen because she wasn't feeling too well. I want to take her to the hospital. But she said if I take Karen home because of COVID-19 protocol, they wouldn't allow her back in. Even when she comes back into the hostel, she will be quarantined away from other students. And so I should make arrangements, pay for logistics, so that the school brings Karen to the hospital I intended to take Karen, and after treatment, they will take her back. So I agreed to this. The next day, they called me that they were taking Karen to the hospital in the morning. But when I got there, I saw Karen. There was another girl in the car with her. And immediately she asked me, this wasn't our arrangement. You were supposed to pick me. I said, the school said if I pick you, you'll be quarantined. And she said, that's a lie. Nobody gets quarantined. The girl in the car is going for her mother's birthday party. I'm asking to go home for medical reasons, which is more important. So I said she shouldn't bother. I will ask for an exit after treatment. So after her treatment, I called the acting principal, Mr. Akpagher, and asked him if I could pick Karen. But at that time, Karen had left. And before leaving, she asked me, Mommy, are you still allowing me live with these people? But I told her, don't worry, I'm coming for you. So I asked Mr. Akpagher if I could pick Karen. And he asked if she was still there with me. I can just take her home. I said, no, she has gone to get her things ready before I can pick her from. He said, fine, when you get to the school gates, call me and I'll allow you to take her. When I got to the school gates about past 12:01, I called him and he wouldn't pick my call. So I called the nurse, the matron, the school matron. And she said, we've established that it's a bacterial infection she has, so we're taking care of her. Don't worry, just go home. So at that point, I actually turned back to go home. But then Karen called from the school phone and started crying that, why are you not here? I said, I've been at the school gate, but they wouldn't allow me take you. So her house mother took the phone from her and said, Madam, whatever they are telling you, it's a lie. Do all you can to ensure you take this girl out of this school. She could not even walk to school on Wednesday morning. She had to be supported by her friends to write her test. So I got worried. If my daughter is sick, she should be supported to the clinic, not to write a test. So I called the principal. He wouldn't pick, kept calling them. Then the matron eventually, I sent text messages that I still want to take Karen. The matron eventually picked and said, it's not under her purview to give me an exit. But she has given me exits before then. But she will talk to the principal who will arrange one for me. This was about past 4. I was at the school gate. In fact, when I spoke to the security that I want to see the principal, he actually walked into the school, called the principal, and when he came back, he said, I can't see the principal. So I asked him why. What did the principal say? He said he could not understand what the principal was saying. So I was still at the gate until past 5. Karen walked out with her head in her hand. So, but before I could take her out, the security said they had asked that I should give an ID card for them to photocopy. I have other children in that school, and this is not my first time of taking Karen out. But that was the first time I was being asked for an ID card before I can take any of my child out. So I gave them my driver's license, they photocopied, and I walked out with Karen. We got home, that was on a Saturday evening. She was fine. Sunday, she was fine, but at about 11 p.m., she came to me that she just vomited. She's not feeling too well. I said, if it's something, we should go to the hospital now. She said, no, she feels relieved. I said, okay, fine, we'll go to the hospital the next day in the morning. But by 4:30 a.m. in the morning, she came to me and asked for water. So I gave her water. After drinking the water, she would not pull the cup down. She kept on pushing it. I said, Dido, you finished the water, put the cup down. She kept the cup down, but still carried her hand to her mouth. That was when I knew there was something terribly wrong. So I quickly prepared her, but while I was trying to dress her up, she was fighting me. Don't touch me, don't touch me. So when we got to the hospital, they saw that she was very weak and said they will have to give her a drip. But because she was weak, and they had to put in a catheter into her. But while inserting the catheter, they saw a big lump of discharge. But because she was diabetic, they felt it might be candida. So, but they wanted to make a vaginal swab to take it for testing, and a big lump came out. So they were all shocked, and the doctor insisted they take that for testing. So I called the school at this time and told them Karen was sick. But when the doctor brought back, all this while she was fighting, they had to restrain her No, they should not touch me. Don't touch me. When the doctor brought back the test result, he called me and said, Madam, your daughter has been molested. The lump that came out is actually, they said the way they put it in the test was suspected to be condom. It was synthetic. And her urine had a lot of dead spermatozoas. So your daughter was molested. And what she's going through is a trauma she had lived through. That's why you see her fighting everybody. So I called the school at this time and told them I would want to see them in the school, in the hospital. So this was around 1 p.m. So I now called a nurse in the school and asked her what happened to Karen. She said her statement that don't worry, we'll get to the bottom of this so that this does not happen to any other child. I called my son's house father, and he also expressed the same statement that don't worry, we'll find out what happened to Karen. Because I had told him, he said Karen will get better and she'll come back to us. I said I wasn't bringing her back. I did not tell them about the rape, but he said, don't worry, we'll get to the bottom of it, don't worry. So the school did not come to the hospital until about 5:30 p.m. So when they got to the hospital, I explained all that happened to them. It was the matron, Mrs. Grace Salami, and then the head of pastoral. After I had explained all that happened, the head of pastoral said, to think that we are taking good care of these children, look at what's happening. If this has happened to her, who says it hasn't happened to others? And the matron said, you gave us this girl in trust, thinking we can take care of her. Look at what has happened. And they left. So that was on a Monday. By 2:15 a.m. Tuesday morning, Karen gave up. Karen died. I called the school the next day and told them. And since then, it's been a battle. The school insists Karen wasn't raped in the school and all that. So I went to a lot of institutions. I went to the FCT command. I reported the case. They promised to carry out an investigation. They asked for logistics to support their investigation, which I gave to them. And then we gave them some because we had someone that was giving us some intelligence from the school. The school had gathered students and had coached them on how to answer questions when the police come. But yet, it was the school that provided students the police question. So we are told the police there are 54 CCTV cameras in the school. And the police said, the school said the cameras self-delete, the recording self-deletes. So seeing that the FCT wasn't handling it right, we asked that it should be transferred to the first CID. We got to the first CID, we took the case to National Assembly, who asked that for an investigative hearing on the case, and also said the DNA profile of all the males in the school should be established so that it will be compared to the DNA profile from the sample the doctor had. So they said they were going to set up a panel to ensure that that happens. That panel was never set up. From 9th of December 2021 till date, nothing has been done. For the DNA, I had also written to the police asking them to allow me also take part of that for testing so that I will establish a profile that will compare at the end of the day. But the day the police went to collect a sample from the doctor, they went with the school and never told me. So after I realized, the doctor told me they had collected it, I wrote to the police again and told them that I wouldn't be part of that process because I don't trust the process. The woman that was in charge of the gender unit of Force CID, then she was a DCP or so, Deputy Commissioner. I went to her office, she pulled her shoes, stood on the floor of the office and swore that if she does anything to jeopardize this case, may what happened to Karen happen to her daughters. But at the end of the day, the police came back with a result that said no male DNA is detected. So I took the case to FCPC, that's the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. They were actually investigating the case, but the school took them to court that they had no jurisdiction. But fortunately, the court threw that petition out. But also, unfortunately, the man that was spearheading the investigation has been relieved of his duty. So that also stalled. I took my case to the Ministry of Education. Nothing was done. To the Department of Quality Assurance at FCT. Nothing was done. In fact, the woman that was passionate about the case was demoted. I also went to the Ministry of Justice. I wrote to them. Nothing was done. So I took the case to court. But after going to court on several occasions and seeing that the school they were just not, every day it was being adjourned. And it was eating into me. It was giving me sleepless nights. I felt, rather than allow them kill my daughter and kill me, I better withdraw the case from court and have, I wouldn't say it's peace of mind because it's not. Even the chickens we rear in our house, we want to know what killed them. So that's where I am today.
Hi. Thank you very much, ma'am. I'm like, from the first time I've ever I talked to you, from the first time I spoke to you, when I came back, I said, Karen's mom is so strong. I don't think I can go through this and still stand. And seeing that you can stand and seeing that you have the courage to always tell your story and tell what happened to Karen, it's commendable. I must commend you for that. I must commend your strength. I'm seeing that all of the efforts you've been putting in to get justice for Karen has proved abortive. There's been no solution forthcoming. There's no justice forthcoming. How would you describe the justice system in Nigeria?
You will describe a justice system that is existent. It's non-existent. So I don't see how I can describe something I know does not exist.
Okay, so I was going to talk about the systemic barriers, but you've already talked about all of the systemic barriers that you encountered while trying to seek justice for Karen. And then I also wanted to ask if there were others. Okay, so I'm not going to dispute the fact that she was raped in the school. That's well ascertained, but are there any other piece of information that was helpful in ascertaining the fact that she was raped in the school, like any evidence at all?
When the doctor that treated her analyzed her case, he told me it takes at least 5 days for a patient that has been operated on to get an infection. If a headache occurs on the second day, it's not really an infection. From what the house mother told me, Karen could not walk to school on Wednesday. So definitely it would be between Tuesday and Wednesday she was raped. A condom was left in her. When you count from Tuesday down to those days, 5 days had passed. And that resulted to infection that led to sepsis that killed Karen. And then for a woman, sperms can only stay alive in your body after 3 days. It's dead. All the sperms that were found in her urine were dead sperms. I brought Karen back home on Saturday. Karen was with me in the house Saturday, Sunday. I took her to the hospital on a Monday and she was unconscious. So whatever happened to Karen must have happened to Karen before she came home. And where she was when she came home, it was in school. So if the school says it did not happen in school, she was under their custody. She wasn't she was under their custody when it happened. So they were responsible. But as I speak to you, nobody from the school has uttered an apology or has even sympathized that, Madam, you lost a daughter. Rather, I've heard stories from them that I couldn't take care of Karen. Karen was with me 2 days before she died. Karen is diabetic. She has been, even the school testified that she's very, very religious about her drugs and what she eats. I am diabetic, so I know what it takes. I wouldn't allow my daughter, and in 2 days, a diabetic cannot kill, cannot die.
So how's all these challenges? How do you feel about all of this? So yeah, I'm asking how do you feel, because it's understandable looking at you and then hearing you speak, I know how you feel. But how has this impacted you and your family?
If today,
yes, ma'am,
I have 3 boys, 2 are already in the university, 1 is in primary school. If that boy walks up to me and says, Mommy, I don't want to go to school, I wouldn't force him. I wouldn't force him to go to school. Because from what happened to Karen, she was trying to get an education. It's overrated. It was in the quest for an education that she died.
Right. So if Karen were to be alive today, if she were to be here and then she heard about this happened to somebody, how do you think she was going to feel, or how do you think she was going to react to this?
In April of 2021, there was a boy that was said to have been molested in one of the schools in the southeast. She brought that to my attention. And she said, Mommy, if I'm the mother, I will kill somebody. But unfortunately, I couldn't kill somebody for her. That was the kind of person she was.
Okay, one final question, ma'am. So, like you said, if your son walks up to you and said, oh, Mommy, I don't want to go to school today, you would not first because you feel this overrated. Karen died while trying to get education. So I'd like to know, what kind of reforms would you like to see in the educational sector? And how do you think that this can help protect children better?
Most of the people starting schools today are starting it just for the monetary aspect. It's not to impact an education. And you find out that most of the teachers we have in our school are teaching because they have no other option. They are not passionate about the students. So the reform will be that the Ministry of Education must look into creating appropriate regulations that will ensure that you are in a school, we are running a school, not just for the money it brings to the table, but for the fact that you want to give an education. And schools should be held responsible to report any case against any students or involving any students to the parents. Nothing should be swept under the carpet or should be covered to protect the image of the school.
Okay, thank you so much, man. So in your journey and in all of this that has happened, can you tell us some of the resources that you found helpful, that has been supportive, and how this can support other people who are going through the same thing you're going through right now?
The first day this happened, Men Against Rape, an NGO, came to me, who has also suffered a lot because they are presently in court. The founder is in court with the school. The school has sued him for 500 million defamation case. Amnesty International has been very helpful because they have held my hand all through this journey. FCCPC was passionate about the case until the head was taken out. And then I've found very close family and friends that have been helpful. And some other NGOs that has also offered a lot of assistance.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. And we're grateful that you've taken our time to tell your story. And then we hope, or we are positive, that someday we'll be able to get justice for Karen.
Yeah, I pray so too.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. And with this, we come to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe and follow us on all socials at Amnesty International Nigeria. Also, if you'd like to learn more about sexual and gender-based violence, you can visit our academy at amnestyacademy.org. We have courses on sexual and gender-based violence there to enable you to take action and then learn more about this. Thank you so much once again. See you next time.